It is that time of the week once again where we get together and talk about community issues and community events. It is Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swinson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. A little later on in the program, we will get to know the new Chief Administrative Officer of Winneshiek Medical Center, Steve Slessor. We'll also go check in with the City of Decorah with Interim City Manager Wanda Hemesath. Of course, the interviews for the new city manager position will be taking place this weekend among city council members. But first things first, another fun event starting next week. It's the Winneshiek County Fair, back with a full-fledged event this year. And we will preview the Winneshiek County Fair with business manager Mary Fitch. We'll kick that off right now. This is Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Coming up next week is the 2021 Winneshiek County Fair, and with us to discuss the fair business manager Mary Fitch. And Mary, just good to be talking about a fair this year after 2020 and the summer that wasn't, if you will. It's good to have all these community events back, and the Winneshiek County Fair, one of those top events of the summer for many people. How good is it to just be planning events and getting ready for the fair as compared to last year?
Oh, it's tremendous to be able to be getting ready for a usual fair, a normal fair. Last year we did our best and we were glad we got it done, but certainly this year is what we're really looking forward to. We have some huge items going on. We have some outstanding entertainment and plus the new community building. So we're excited about all of them. We're excited to have the community down so they can see the improvements that have been done at the fairgrounds. A lot of work, a lot of dedication by a lot of volunteers.
And the community building project, you just touched upon that. Anyone who's driven by the fairgrounds can see the progress on that. Folks that have been to the races on Saturday night probably noticed the progress on that. How is that project coming along?
We are going to use the building this year. It is going to be just a shell. There'll be no restrooms in it. So it's just 4 walls and a roof and a wonderful awning. But that was our goal because it's all been compressed into such a time frame. So we're just excited we met our goal. And we're going to have our open class exhibits in there. We're going to have our vendors in there, and the 4-H exhibits and their state exhibits are going to be in that building also. So we encourage everybody to take a look at those exhibits. And by doing so, you'll also see the new community building.
And how good does it feel to have so much not only financial support, but other support to improve that facility in particular and the fairgrounds as a whole?
Oh, the community's been wonderful. We get in donations every day towards the building. And I think as they can see a physical presence, that they understand that it is really definitely moving forward. And, it's the community support that we get from our businesses in this community from all of Winneshiek County is tremendous, and we really appreciate it. And we love to be a part of the fair, knowing that all of our volunteers have just some small part in being a part of this large project that goes on each year to support our agriculture and to support our community besides.
We'll touch on the entertainment in front of the grandstand a little bit during the next question, but you guys are doing the Fair Button program once again this year. Yep. Where can people pick up their Fair Buttons prior to next week's fair?
The Fair Buttons are on sale in Waukon, in Fort Atkinson, Calmer, Oshed, Spillville, Decorah, Highlandville, and Baroque. So we have them all throughout the county. And in Decorah, there's many businesses, but those businesses are listed on our website. So if you're wondering where to get them, just go to our website, which is winneshiekcountyfair.org, and you'll be able to find that information. And just to make life even more intriguing, those buttons are last year's buttons. So all of our buttons are going to have the wrong dates on them. We're emphasizing that, but we'd already purchased them for last year's fair. And 5,000 buttons is kind of a spendy item for a business with a small budget. So we chose to go ahead and use those buttons. So if your button says 2020, that's the right button to have.
And of course, next week, the fair gets underway from an entertainment standpoint on Tuesday. Let's just run down your grandstand entertainment starting Tuesday night.
So Tuesday night, we have the races at the fair, which is the Upper Iowa Speedway. So those will start at 6 o'clock for hot laps and 6:30 for races. And then we have on Wednesday night Rogue Rodeo, and that starts at 7 o'clock p.m. And that'll have the usual bull riding and barrel racing and roping. We had Rogue Rodeo in 2019 also, and everybody was very pleased with that rodeo. And on Thursday night, then we have the tractor pull, which has always turned out to be a huge event for this area. Everybody loves the tractor pull. Friday night, we have Joe Stam and Sawyer Brown. Sawyer Brown has been really exceptional to have. We had them 3 or 4 years ago, but I'm getting calls, a lot of questions on Sawyer Brown. And then on Saturday night, we have Gabby Barrett and Jordan Davis. So, and those entertainments on both those nights start at 7:30 for the opener, and then 9 o'clock for the main performer on those nights.
And
so
of course,
the
4-H FFA judging beginning next week as well. That was a part of the fair you were able to continue and give those young people the opportunities in the limited event that you had last year. And it's always good to see the young people and their hard work get recognized at this event.
Yeah, so actually we have a couple phenomenal events. We have our dog show, which has grown so much that we had to move it to its own day. The dog show is actually held on Monday, which is technically outside of our fair dates, but we couldn't fit it into our fair dates. This is probably, I think, the 3rd year we're doing that. And then I've heard from the extension office that we are having the highest number of entries in our beef categories. So those shows are going to be tight for time, but hopefully we'll get them all through safely, and hopefully the kids will enjoy all their exhibits.
And when it comes to the Midway, once again, Evans United shows as good as it gets. Back on the Midway, once again, a couple of wristband nights for unlimited rides as well, and a fun Midway and great entertainment for the kids.
Evans is a great business to work with. They have been exceptional for many years, and they continue to be exceptional. The wristbands, we have wristband times from Wednesday night from 6 to 10, Friday night from 6 to 10, and then Saturday from 2 to 6. So it's a $5 discount. You can get a wristband to ride all rides at $25, but if you buy them in advance, they're $20. And where you can buy them in advance is listed on our website also.
And there's a lot of free entertainment on the grounds as well throughout the fair. Tell us about that.
Well, actually, each year we try to have some local musicians, and we do have some new local musicians coming this year. Those are listed on our location schedule, but I'm kind of excited to have some old ones back and some new ones back. And we also have the Bill Riley Talent Show, which is on Wednesday at 10:30. That features a lot of our young entrepreneurs coming up into the talent business. We have Jim Boosta and Molly B coming to the fair. And then we also have K-Bike pre-concert on both Friday and Saturday night, which we love working with you guys. So we're always excited to see you at the fair too.
Anything we're missing? Anything else you want to inform the public of?
I just want to encourage the public to come on down and enjoy the fair and say hi to all the kids, and be sure you see all their exhibits, and be sure you see all the livestock go through the barns. Those kids keep the barns really good, and they keep the livestock really well attended. And I just always think it's fun just to walk through and see how excited the kids are.
That's one of the great parts of the Winneshiek County Fair. One thing, looking at your website, well, probably worth touching base with is the capital improvement brick fundraiser that you got going on. What's going on related to that?
So this is one of the programs. You can purchase a brick, and it will help support the community building. They're making plans for when and how to have this brick wall built. But it's one of the ways you can support the community building. We have that up, and we have just the regular campaign fund where you can give without the brick. But either way, we're just happy for any donation, small or large, to help us move forward with this building.
Mary, thanks for taking the time to discuss next week's Winneshiek County Fair. Just great to have the fair back this year. One of those fun events in the summertime in Decorah and in Winneshiek County and in Northeast Iowa. And best of luck with everything going on next week. And here's to a great 2021 Winneshiek County Fair.
Well, thank you, Darren. We really appreciate all your support and the support from the community. So thanks for having me on.
Mary Fitch is the business manager for the Winneshiek County Fair. Fair starts next Tuesday in Decorah. Getting our City of Decorah update this month with interim city manager and city clerk treasurer Wanda Hemesath. And of course, the process of hiring a new city manager will continue this weekend in Decorah. And Wanda, just give us a general update. How did we get to the point we're at right now in the city manager selection process, and what will take place specifically this weekend?
Sure. So as you know, the council, as you know, the council hired a consultant to help with this process. And so we've been meeting systematically through this time. We did some virtual interviews, and at which time they chose 4 people to bring in for the final in-person interviews. And there will be a meet and greet on Friday night, and then we'll be doing the interviews on Saturday.
And as for the public meet and greet, give us the details of how the public can get to know the 4 people.
Okay, it'll be from 5 to 7 on Friday night at the Hotel Winneshiek lobby. And we really encourage anyone to come and meet them who is able to and who desires to come and meet them.
And what will take place then on Saturday as part of the interview process?
Okay, so there's 3 different interview groups that will consist of staff, department. They will each group will meet with each individual candidate, and those will happen on Saturday morning. We should be done with the interviews by about 11:45, and then at which time council will deliberate after that.
And what is the earliest time that a selection could possibly be made, or what needs to happen if the council comes to a selection and an offer is made? How does that process work?
So if the council comes to a definitive conclusion as to who they want to offer it to, that could happen on Saturday. Maybe it won't, but it could happen as early as Saturday. And in which case then the consultant will notify that candidate, and we will begin negotiations for a contract with that person.
And related to what took place at last night's Decorah City Council meeting, the property on Old Stage Road that has been discussed ad nauseum at times over the last few years here in the city of Decorah, the council took some action related to this property, and I probably can't do it justice in a simple news story that I read in the morning, but break down what exactly the council did related to that property last evening.
The council approved a conditional rezoning agreement that the property owners have agreed to. And as part of that, they have agreed to put 17 acres, a portion of that land, into a riparian buffer strip. And at least 4 acres of it will go into a CRP for at least 10 years, but it will remain in that riparian buffer strip for at least 15. And that has to happen within 6 months of the rezoning taking place. And so last night, then after they approved that, they approved the first reading of the ordinance to rezone.
And seemingly from the outside looking in, it was a negotiation that happened in good faith because everyone wanted the environmental concerns to be taken care of, the potential flooding concerns to be taken care of, but at the same time, you want to send a message that the town is open for economic development. Is that a fair way to put it?
I would say that's a fair way to put it. The council was very concerned about, doing everything we could to protect that section of the river and to protect the land as much as we can, and yet being open to having some development. That is a prime spot for some impactful economic development. And so they wanted to be mindful of that as well. So I think that what has happened here is they've struck a very good balance in protecting the environment and still allowing for development in that area.
And of course, we don't want to talk about it on a nice July day, but fall is coming. And with this fall will be elections that are coming place in November. There's, I'm sure, a few seats up here in the city council end of things. Who's up for election this fall? What are some of the deadlines that people need to know about if they're interested in seeking city council seats? What other information can you tell us at this time related to this fall's vote?
Okay, so we have 4 council positions on the ballot: 1st Ward, 3rd Ward, 5th Ward, and then 1 at-large position, along with the mayor. So it's 4 council positions and the mayor. And we also have a park rec commissioner. We've got actually 2 positions open on the park rec board. But what candidates, anyone who's interested, can pick up papers here at City Hall. They can pick them up at the courthouse, or they can pick them up online, those nomination papers. Wards 1, 3, and 5 have to have a minimum of 10 signatures. The at-large position needs a minimum of 32. The mayor is 41. And then the park and rec commissioner positions are 24. Papers can be taken out at any time, but they have to be taken back to the county auditor and submitted there between August 23rd and 5 o'clock, September 16th. So nobody can accept papers. The county auditor cannot accept papers filing until August 23rd. It's the first anyone can file papers.
Why is there a difference between the required signatures among the wards, among the mayor, among the at-large position, and among the park rec commissioner position? How does the total signatures required, how do they come to that?
That's based on the number who voted for that position in the last election. So it's just a percentage, and it's a minimum of 10. So it's either a percentage or a minimum of 10. And so 10 is what, because the minimum was less than 10, or the percentage was less than 10. So they have to have at least 10 signatures.
And another matter that made some news in the city. I know you don't want to be the center of attention, but you announced that you're going to call it a career after 4 decades for working for the city of Decorah later this fall. What made this the right time for you to go out and enjoy life now?
Well, you know what? I've been thinking about it for a while. 42 years is a long time. And I thought, well, with a new city manager, that maybe this is if I'm going to do it in the near future, that this is a good time to do it, because then your new city manager will be able to have some input in who the city clerk treasurer is going to be. And so I thought that, this was probably a good time to just make that change.
And when you look at it, and I'm looking at this from the outside, looking in, working 42 years of dealing with the public and working in government, we often focus on the negative side of that. What has kept you going for over 4 decades working with the public?
I think for me, the most rewarding piece of this is making a difference in our community. And I like to think I've done that. I know sometimes, you can never be in my position or a city manager position for any amount of time and not have some people not happy with you. I mean, if you never have anybody mad at you, you're probably not doing your job. So, but yet for me, it's just been, trying to make a difference in my community. And so, yeah.
And I guess as long as we got you on the line, anything else folks need to be aware of from the city's perspective until we have a conversation again next month?
I don't think so. I mean, we've really been focused on, getting through this hiring process, which has been very involved. And so that's been, you know, that's been a big key to what we've been doing right now. And I don't think there's anything else that's really that important right now. That's the most important thing on everybody's plate.
Wanda, we appreciate you taking the time, and enjoy your last few months of service to the city of Decorah. I mean, you're one of a few people that remember me before I could talk, and those were probably glorious days for a lot of folks in this town.
Yep.
But,
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Congratulations on a job well done serving the city for 4+ decades. Enjoy your last 3 months on the job, and as always, we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wanda Hemesath, the city clerk treasurer for the city of Decorah, also the interim city manager, giving us our city update. Having a conversation this morning with Steve Slessor. He is the new chief administrative officer of Winneshiek Medical Center. He got the job a couple months ago and has been on the job for about a month now, replacing Lisa Radke in that position. Steve, thanks for taking the time this morning and having this conversation with us. First of all, just give a general introduction. Tell us about Steve Slessor.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Darren. Name is Steve Slessor, new Chief Administrative Officer here at WMC. Absolutely thrilled to be here. My background is Iowa kid, born and raised. Most of my time spent living in smaller communities. Spent most of my growing up years in Independence, Iowa. Moved to Waverly, Iowa, and did my high school career there. My dad was a school superintendent, and so his job took him to Waverly, and I followed along there. After graduating high school from Waverly, I went to the University of Northern Iowa, got my degree in business administration. My uncle was a long-term hospital CEO in Fort Dodge, and so I had looked at his work a little bit, spent some time shadowing him, and decided the healthcare administration would be a good fit for me. So with that, I went to the University of Iowa and got my master's in healthcare administration, and came back to the Cedar Valley, where I obviously did undergrad and started my career at Allen Hospital. And that was a wonderful experience, larger organization, system-based organization. So I got to experience that side of healthcare. And then 8 years ago or so, came over to Buchanan County Health Center in Independence as the CEO there. So experience, full circle back to my original hometown there. And got a flavor really of the rural healthcare environment. So have, I think, a good combination of that rural healthcare background, but also more of the urban environment. And I view Winneshiek Medical Center as right in between that. We're still obviously participating in rural healthcare, but we're a significantly sized organization to be able to do a lot of wonderful things. And I think that combination is really the best for me and one of the big attractive things. It's small enough to where I can continue to engage and get to know the staff, but large enough that we do some really neat things here and have a lot of services to offer. So again, thrilled to be here.
And other than what you just mentioned, what attracted you to moving to Decorah for this opportunity?
Yeah, so a few things. Number one is the Winneshiek County area is well known throughout the state, and that became very clear to me really after I accepted this job, how much its reputation precedes it from people that I heard that I've gotten to know through my career, as far away as Des Moines and some of those places that, take trips up here and do some of those type of items. Decorah itself certainly has a wonderful school district reputation, something that my father as a school superintendent certainly knew well. And we wanted to make the move to where we felt like the best place was to raise our family for the remainder of the time that our kids are going through school. So my wife Megan and I, we have a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and 2-year-old. So our intention was to find that final move. And felt like the Decorah area school district was a great one to raise our children in. And so, that was part of the attraction. So it was definitely both a professional attraction as well as a personal one for my family and I.
And when you look at the healthcare availability, I know a lot of people talk about the cost of healthcare, and that provides some challenges for many people of all types of income. But when it comes to healthcare availability and services available, Is the Decorah area kind of spoiled with what you can do here from a healthcare perspective?
Yeah, we are certainly very fortunate. So a couple things that I'll reference. We have somewhere around 11, 12 family practice physicians here that are operating out of Decorah. That is an enormous amount. And then obviously adding in the Gunderson physicians as well. On top of that, that's a huge amount of primary care physicians. And then we have the advanced practice providers that work out of the clinic also. So in the primary care world, we are incredibly fortunate, and certainly being able to recruit to the greater Winneshiek area and all the things that it brings, I know is a part of that success and having the amount of primary care availability that we do. But the specialty also. So we have one full-time orthopedic surgeon and have another full-time orthopedic surgeon that'll be joining us here late this summer. Having two full-time in this size of community is awesome. Full-time ENT physician, two full-time general surgeons. So as you look at those specialty services compared to some of the other, critical access hospitals within the state, Decorah certainly shines through pretty significantly in most of those services. And, Decorah is far enough away from the larger entities as well that, people really want to stay here local as opposed to driving an hour and 10 minutes or an hour, 15 minutes to some of the larger places. That allows us to offer more services here locally and really be a destination site at WMC to a greater area. So no, we are absolutely incredibly fortunate for the caliber and the number of physicians and advanced practice providers that we've been able to bring here for sure.
As you change into this or transition, I guess is the better word, into this new position, what are these first couple of months for you going to be like, just getting used to your new position?
Yeah, so the first few months I describe as really listening and learning. So most of my time right now is spent meeting one-on-one with every leadership individual in the organization, every medical staff member in the organization, and then a sampling of staff from each department in the organization as well. So really want to get an understanding of how are our folks feeling, both leaders, medical staff, and staff members. So that's a good bulk of my time right now. Dr. Marquardt, our chief medical officer, and I are also going around and doing, community listening tours, if you will, meeting with a wide variety of community leaders to really understand, and that's across the entire Winneshiek County area, to really understand, where is WMC strong in their minds and what can we be doing better in their minds as we look to expand our services and engage with communities that we serve. So again, these first few months, they're really fun because it's all about getting to meet people, putting names with faces, but really get a good understanding of where we're at in our current state to figure out where are areas of pride and where are some of those things that we can look at doing even better. And I love learning about both of those elements. So that's been my first few months. And no, those listening sessions will probably extend through mid-August or so before I'm through those number of individuals.
And I know in the Facebook video that you posted when you first got the job, you talked about the importance of being out in the community and being seen in the community. Is that part of these community listening sessions? And second part of the question, you got 3 kids and kids tend to be pretty active. Does that help you get your face out a little bit more than what you previously had the opportunity to do?
Yeah, I certainly hope so. So in regards to the community visits, part of that is absolutely to put names with faces, make sure that those individuals know Dr. Marquardt, know myself, so that they feel comfortable picking up the phone and giving us a call if there's things that we can work through and collaborate on. So that is definitely part of that strategy. Yeah, in regards to the kiddos, absolutely. I think that they will be really taking us to a lot of the places that we end up going outside of the work environment. My wife, Megan, just started with our daughter doing art camp and swimming lessons here this week, and my son taking his first year of swimming lessons. So yeah, they're already getting out and about in that regard. From the other community standpoint, I just actually had email conversations today about joining Rotary here next month. I'm a Rotarian from the Independence branch, and so transferring over to the Decorah branch. So look forward to engaging in that. And then I guess I'll just put an open invitation out there here on this radio program, that if there are other community groups that are interested in hearing about the hospital, getting updated about the hospital, I'm more than happy. Dr. Marquardt and I, as a joint effort, more than happy to come talk to those groups and make sure that people have a forum to answer or ask any questions that they want to ask and get updates. So I guess I'll put that out as an open invitation.
All right. When it comes to rural healthcare itself, what are the good things about the delivery and the providing of services of healthcare in a rural area? What is the biggest challenge as you see it? And are those challenges different depending on where you're at?
Yeah, I'll start with the challenge question first. I guess I see two main challenges. You know, there's probably a list of 10 that you can go into, but for sake of time, I'll really focus on two in the rural healthcare market specifically. Number one is recruiting of professionals. And I think that is really where we have a significant leg up because of the county that we're in and the offerings that this county has. You know, if you start looking at some of these other smaller hospitals, recruiting, especially, you know, physicians, but therapists and MLTs that work in the lab, it's not just the physicians, it's a wide variety of healthcare positions that are incredibly difficult to be able to recruit. I joke, although I guess it's not really a joke, that, you know, you can post a job for a nurse and an MLT in a lab, and you can have no applicants for 3 months, but you post a chief executive or chief administrative officer job, and you'll have 80 people applying for that in 3 weeks. So it is hard to recruit those healthcare professionals. But again, I think because of the area that we're in, we're so fortunate to have a leg up and to not have that significant challenge be as burdensome for us. It's still not easy, but it's easier than it is in some other locations. The other challenge is just being able to be a size to offer enough things to keep yourself going financially. So, you know, when you start getting into some of these smaller communities, that can become more and more of a challenge to have enough volume to support services. And that's where you really see the critical access hospitals, I think, that are most at risk under the current financial structure are those that just don't have the volumes to be able to continue to support the services. Again, that's another area where WMC remains pretty fortunate. I don't know about the current updated data, but as of 2 years ago, we were the second largest critical access hospital in the state of Iowa. And for those listeners that aren't aware, critical access is a designation, a payment designation that certain hospitals have as a result of being classified as in a rural area. And it provides us some reimbursement based upon our cost versus based upon a fee structure, and really helps a lot of critical access hospitals survive. Most of the hospitals in Iowa are critical access hospital designated hospitals. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 88 out of 120 or 130 hospitals in the state are critical access. And we are definitely one of the largest critical access. So when you get to that size, you have enough scope, enough patient volume to where you're able to get over top of your fixed expenses and make things work financially. So, you know, again, a lot of challenges in rural healthcare, but the two main ones that I just cited are both challenges that we are a little bit of a leg up compared to some other hospitals in the state and around the country.
Over the last 16 months, healthcare has been at the forefront of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, it's an ever-changing, ever-evolving situation, and who knows what the next few months will bring related to COVID-19. But as of right now, is there anything that healthcare can learn over these last 16 months that can improve the delivery of services into the future?
Yeah, there is a ton that we can learn and have learned as an industry. I think one of the most important lessons, maybe from my perspective, is COVID showed how quickly healthcare organizations can implement changes if they have to. So healthcare has not always been the quickest industry to make pretty dramatic changes, historically at least. And with COVID, you saw healthcare organizations that may have at one point in time taken a year, 2 years, 3 years to work through implementation of a telemedicine program, for instance, that implemented a telemedicine program in 2 weeks. So I think it really showed what is possible when people put their minds to it, that a change needs to occur. And also what's possible, frankly, when some of the regulations ease to allow some of those changes to occur quickly. So I think that there was learnings from the industry about change management, but I also am hopeful that there's some learnings from the governmental agencies about what is possible when you really look at what regulations make sense and what regulations do not. So that was certainly a learning. Another learning that I think all organizations really experienced is how much work on the back office front I'm referring to now, how much work can effectively be done at home. I think organizations were historically very, they didn't want to see their folks work from home. They thought productivity would go down significantly. And not a lot of that has borne out in truth. The data there has been pretty compelling that the right types of jobs can work from home. Now, clearly healthcare doesn't have all of those type of roles. There's plenty of roles, and most of them, frankly, that folks have to still be here. But when you're talking about the future of healthcare, you can look at making some of those changes in the back office world, which free up space to do other things. And so that's definitely been a learning, I think, across all industries. And then more healthcare specific focused, telemedicine, certainly how it is utilized in healthcare, I don't think will ever be the same. I don't think maybe, as much will go to telemedicine as people were talking about, in May when things were at the worst and all visits were being done. I think we'll be gradually going back to more and more in person. And clearly that's still where most of our healthcare at WMC is delivered. But I do think that we'll always have that room for telemedicine services for patients that either have a hard time getting here, or even the ability to bring other specialty care services here. So, when you're talking about certain specialties, it can be hard to recruit somebody to drive, an hour every 2 weeks to come provide services here. But for certain specialties, it's absolutely appropriate for a lot of that care to be done over telemedicine. So that's an opportunity for that physician to not have 2 hours or 2.5 hours of windshield time per day, but they can still service patients that just present to our campus right here. So I don't think telemedicine is going anywhere. I think that it is here to stay. But then there's even some smaller things. I think about a lot of healthcare organizations and their waiting rooms. Again, as a small example, you have an urgent care waiting room that would just have chair upon chair upon chair, and everybody there is coughing all over each other and having the sniffles, and you didn't really think too much of it. You all sat in this little box, and even small things like that. It's hard to see us ever going back to exactly that again as we structure what things look like. So there are big changes that are healthcare specific, small changes healthcare specific. But I think other things that industry or other industries as a whole also learn from that healthcare will follow suit on as well.
And I know at the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of healthcare organizations had to cut back on some of the services they were providing because they wanted to limit the people heading into a hospital itself. And there are some ramifications for that, people missing screenings and other things that definitely were non-COVID related, but healthcare related. Moving forward, have we learned anything to make sure a situation like that doesn't happen again? Because, like, for example, at the start of the pandemic, one of the top unemployment claims were from the healthcare industry, which in the big picture didn't make a lot of sense at the during a pandemic. Is there something the industry has learned related to that issue specifically?
That's a very real issue that you're bringing up. I can only reflect, because I obviously was not here at WMC during that time period that you're referencing. So I'll have to reflect on my past experience at Buchanan County Health Center. And we absolutely had individuals that presented to the emergency department then that really should have presented to the ER a week before they did. And, had potential worse outcomes as a result. So there was definitely a lot of fear about accessing services. In terms of what we learned on that specific question, I think that's tough. You know, we really shut down services, not necessarily when COVID was at its worst, right? COVID was at its worst in the state around November, and most healthcare organization was back to having primary care office visits in November, and they were doing surgeries again. So it wasn't necessarily when COVID was at its peak that everything was shut down. It was really when there was a lot of unknowns about what would happen with COVID. So in hindsight, I think it's super easy to say, yeah, healthcare organizations or the governor's office or whatever pulled the trigger too early and shut down those services and had worse results potentially for patients that delayed care than was really necessary given what the spread of COVID was at that time. But that's really hindsight impression. I think during the moment that things were shutting down, there was a couple of things. We didn't know what our supply of PPE would be. And so, personal protective equipment would be. Would we have the masks when we really needed them for our healthcare staff members to be safe? And we didn't want to necessarily use those masks to do a screening colonoscopy that then wouldn't be available for those healthcare workers on the front lines. But there also just wasn't a lot of information about how quickly this would spread, what the true fatality rate of this disease would be. So I'm not sure that there is a ton of learnings in that regard, because I feel like if I provided what I think would be learnings from that, that's really benefiting from hindsight when there's just a lot of unknowns. But I think once people became a little bit more clear about what COVID's true risk profile was, then the messaging was, you know, again, reflecting on my past experience, the messaging really became more about how do we ensure that patients feel safe about returning here? How do we get that message out that, yes, you can come back to the hospital? And, you know, I felt like that message best was, you know, the hospital really is one of the safest places you could possibly be. I mean, all healthcare individuals know how to appropriately wear masks. We're obviously very, very dedicated to ensuring that everybody was protected in the way that they needed to be. Yeah, are we caring for COVID patients? Absolutely. But we're also, you know, the experts as much as one can be an expert on how to care for a disease that's relatively unknown. So we know those guidelines front and back. And so the messaging, again, really became, it is safe to come back to the hospital. You need to come back and see your primary care physician. And here's how we're best keeping you safe during that time. And then obviously the telehealth was included in that mix as well. So what you're raising is a real issue and a real concern. I'm not sure, again, that anything different at that moment in time could have been done. I think it was just really a question of the timing of when we got the message out that, you know, it is safe to come back here. And this is frankly one of the safer places that you could go out and come to.
Anything else you want to pass on to the public, not only from your own perspective, but from Winneshiek Medical Center's perspective at this time?
Well, what I'd like folks to know is just what a wonderful first 5 weeks for me it's been. So as I've gotten to meet and greet a lot of our folks internally here, there are so many tremendous individuals that work here. Again, we're incredibly fortunate to have a lot of the services that we do. But the other thing I think for the community to keep a watch on is I think that we have a lot of growth in our future. We are well positioned financially within this organization. We've just gone through a strategic planning process, and we'll be continuing to drill that down into what are the specific tactics that we're going to do to achieve our goals. And I do foresee a lot of growth in our future to do even more than what we can do today. But again, as I mentioned, I'm more than willing to take any community feedback that folks have. They can roll a month here, first 5 weeks here, and look forward to the future.
Steve, we enjoyed the conversation this morning, enjoyed getting to know you a little bit, and we appreciate you taking the time to tell us about yourself and what's going on at Winneshiek Medical Center. Look forward to chatting with you on a regular basis in the near future.
Yeah, you bet. I'm happy to, Darren, anytime.
Steve Slessor is the new Chief Administrative Officer at Winneshiek Medical Center. Our thanks to our guest on the program this morning, new Winneshiek Medical Center Chief Administrative Officer Steve Slessor. We also want to thank Decorah Interim City Manager and City Clerk Treasurer Wanda Hemesath. And we want to thank Mary Fitch, the Business Manager for the Winneshiek County Fair. The fair begins next Tuesday in Decorah. Again, good to have all these community events back here in 2001 after COVID took a lot of things away from us in 2020. Don't forget, each and every week we put these shows on YouTube so you can actually see the conversations that we are having with the interesting people making news and coordinating events throughout the area. You can check that out at the Rivers Facebook page or on YouTube. Like for this edition, search 788 Our Town program, and you should be able to get there so you can actually see the conversations that we are having in addition to listening to them each and every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Thanks to our guest. Thanks to our sponsor, of course, Decorah Bank and Trust. And thanks to you for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.